investigator. Troublemaker, too. Then 2 years ago, he disappears. You don't find this guy unless he wants to be found.
Excuse me, sir. There's a
M.L. Elric.
here to see you.
Can I help you?
Sean Windsor.
You say he shot 5 people. I don't believe he did.
What exactly are you saying?
He was framed.
What does an investigative reporter do mostly?
What you do? One minor difference. Every suspect was a trained killer.
What do we hope to find?
The truth.
The podcaster.
Is asking questions no one else would ask. Get the
Producer. Mark?
No.
Martin, are you hurt?
Do I have to tell you how this works?
Do you think I'm a hero? I am not a hero.
The producer.
It's all yours. On second thought, I'd like to kill you.
You asked interrogative question around my face. It's gone.
What are you doing?
That is not paid for by them. That is paid for by the people of Detroit.
You might be qualified, ML.
I'm not qualified for this job.
Let me tell you something. You want to go right now? Okay? You want to go right now, Al?
Hey kids, it's your old pal ML Elric, and I have to tell you what I like the most about this week's intro is it really captures the dynamic between the cast members. There's Sean, who may or may not be a deadly sniper, who cares nothing about human life, who it's totally believable he would just sit in a parking garage and pick off people as they walk along the beautiful Pittsburgh waterfront. And then there's that special bond between Mark and I where
You're the hero?
I want people. No, not so much that.
100% that.
That's certainly a lot of evidence to support that. But I wouldn't say that myself because that's not what heroes do. They just act heroic.
Yeah, right.
So let me get back to acting heroic. But I try and pretend that I could walk away from Mark. But in truth, I would kill a whole bunch of people in a gravel pit if it meant rescuing Mark from the Zek.
Don't worry about it. I'll be fine.
Oh, okay.
No one ever needs to rescue me.
Well, in that case, let's get back to the program. It is a much more chipper start to this week's show, in large part because I don't know if anybody out there has driven really ratty cars. I've pretty much done that my entire life, but for the past year or two, I've been driving around in a really raggedy old car. And
is it done? Is it the end of it?
And today I drove here in the Chrysler 300. I put it back on the insurance because the trusty Ford Focus that had so many miles on it finally gave up the ghost on me last week. Unfortunately, on the way to a campaign hockey game where I was supposed to, lead my team out onto the ice, and instead I was dead at 8 Mile in Livernois. Because
did you ever make it to the game?
I did. So
they probably just thought you were late as usual.
There was some speculation about that, but even this was beyond my. So I had to hustle to make a endorsement interview with a group that scheduled us at the last minute, scheduled all the interviews on one day, agreed to let us interview a little early, but then started late and then ran over. And so rush hour, trying to get from the west side of Detroit to the hockey rink. And, of course, the car dies about 5 minutes into the journey.
So it's not your fault?
It kind of is my fault.
Oh.
Sort of. Because
sounded like you were trying to blame other things.
No. I'm just saying that this was one of these situations where there's no margin for error, where everything has got to be.
That's why you're always late. You do too much.
Well, I keep thinking about tailwinds, green lights, no traffic, and none of those things really exist. But I'd gone to meet my buddy Ron Pilabosian, whose wife put on this fundraiser. And I dropped off all the jerseys, the pucks, the keg of beer, a cooler full of ice, some swag from the podcast, and some campaign stuff. And I thought, wow, I'm really ahead of the game. All this stuff is there. We're ready to go on time. I can do the interview. I can get there, put my gear on, hit the ice. And as I was leaving the restaurant, I noticed the battery light was on the dashboard, which is the only light that hasn't come on in the dashboard since I've been driving this car, which was gifted to my daughters from my stepdad, but I didn't think was safe enough for them to drive, so I kind of been banging around in it. And I thought, I really need to change cars. I need to get this car.
Well, if there's only a
off the road.
dealership you could go to get a new car.
Oh boy, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you in a minute where my wife is going to go to fix this situation. But then I got caught up in other campaign stuff, and I couldn't switch cars. So I said, well, we're going to have to go Blues Brothers. Half a pack of smokes, sunglasses. It's dark. Let's go and hit it. And we did not make it to the Cook County Assessor's office in time, sadly. But the car conked out. It's hot as balls. I call Lyft. They say we're 5 minutes away. Of course, that's not true.
Never is.
And then I get the car started again. I said, well, you know what? The hell with it. So I throw my gear in the back, tell Treese to get in the car. We start driving towards the game. And then we get on the highway, and it starts to lurch. And then it's bumper to bumper. And then it dies. And then I got to push it on the shoulder.
Uh-huh.
But by now,
I hope people recognized you.
my face was probably redder than normal. But by now, I'm close enough to Fox 2 that I called some of my old partners and said, hey, it was about 6:30. I thought shift change. Maybe they're going home. They can give me a ride.
No way.
And one of the guys was going to give me a ride, but then he got called out on an assignment. And then I get a text that says, Roop Raj is on his way.
Oh, wow. Roop's a hero.
And I said, Roop to the rescue. It's kind of like Channel 4, except
Ruth.
It's not Ruth, it's Roop. And he really is going to rescue me. And then somebody comes running towards our car on the shoulder of 75, and it's our daughters with our 2014 Ford C-Max.
Did anyone order a hero?
And they said, come on. So we jammed everything in the car. We took off, and I told Roop, looks like we're going to be okay. And he said, are you sure? And I said, no, we're good. We're good. So Roop.
Oh, man. Isn't that the best feeling when you offer to help somebody and then they call and go, we don't need your help. And you feel like you're off the hook?
Well,
or is that just me?
You'd have to ask Roop because he was the one who was coming to our rescue. But we made it. I got my gear on. I made it for the third period. And
I also realized that I must be way down on your list of people to help because I don't live that far away from where Fox 2 is.
Well, I knew you were doing the Drew and Mike show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I couldn't tear away from that.
Good. Well, that got me off the hook too.
Yeah, and I knew at that time you were probably hearing some diatribe about the media, so I didn't want you to come rescue somebody from the media. I mean, I thought perhaps I had been mechanically canceled. So no, we made it, and my team was down by a couple goals, and I know they were counting on me to dig us out of that hole, but unfortunately I wasn't able to do it. There's a guy on the other team named David Wiley who just kept scoring goals. And so we were supposed to give some awards afterwards. So I brought this medal for Dave. If you're watching us on Facebook Live, you can see the medal for Dave. It's if you're listening to us, go to Facebook page ML Elric and watch the replay of this show. So Dave,
what is that medal?
If you're watching, it's a hockey medal. And it's especially made for Dave, who was the leading scorer on the other team. So we put his name on the back.
Or it says Biatch.
Yeah, oh, is that what it said?
Yeah, it says. What is that medal from, though?
That's what the engraver. We used to go to these hockey tournaments in Canada and get our ass kicked, and we typically win a bronze medal. So I had a couple extra bronze medals. So that's
some people are saying that was a long-winded way to point out that you once got a bronze medal.
Well, there's usually just 4 teams.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know that you really want to.
Then why do they bother giving them out?
Brag about the bronze medal. What are you going to do with them? I've had this thing for like 10 years. I didn't know
place ribbons.
So I am. I'm driving the Chrysler. Put it back on the insurance. I love it, but we are going to need to replace the Ford, and I think we're going to replace it with another Ford because my wife is a huge fan of the Ford Bronco, and she's probably going to go see our old friend Amy O'Brien at Roy O'Brien Ford and see what kind of deal we can get for a lease. Maybe trade in the Focus. Actually, we got the alternator replaced. It's running like a top again, but it's still there's just not enough margin for error. So we're going to try and unload the Ford Focus 2007. It's cherry, by the way. Forget about everything you just heard. If you want to make me an offer,
You're going to get a new car?
I'll drop it off. Teresa will probably find something on the lot there at Roy O'Brien at the corner of 9 Mile and Mac that she'll like. But she may, like many people, start off at the website, which is royobrien.com. where when you go on there, Jesse pops up and he tries to help you out, figure out what the best deal is. If you want to do a trade-in, if you want to lease, if you want to buy new, if you want to see what used cars they have on the lot, that's always my preference because I'm a cheap bastard. Or, the Broncos haven't been out long enough to be used. So I'm pretty sure Teresa will give that a good look and talk to the folks there about getting a good deal. If you want to give them a call, you can call 888-566-5851. That's 888-566-5851. And if you call them and you see my wife there, tell the people at the dealership that ML sent you. And if you see Teresa, tell her we can't afford that. Just get something else. Because I know she's going to say, oh, what's the top of the line Bronco? Because those are pretty
She's
cool.
employed. Let her buy it.
Well, listen, even a kept man has got to draw the line somewhere. So Roy O'Brien, we will be seeing you soon. And this time, not just to buy tires or get an oil change. We're going to be taking something off the lot. So we will see you soon. And maybe we'll run into you there, dear, gentle listener. But we had a pretty wild show last week. We kind of were agonizing over the public's disinterest and certainly public officials' disinterest in public corruption with Gabe Leland basically walking away from a public corruption charge, pleading guilty, having to resign from city council, but then being free to go get himself a double scoop with one of those fancy cones that smell like waffles. And that's the consequence, which seems pretty messed up to me. But then we found out just as we were wrapping the show that Alan Lengel at DeadlineDetroit.com was posting a story about Kwame Kilpatrick returning to town. So we got Alan on the line, had a great interview with him. If you want to check out that episode, that is at mlsoulofdetroit.com. You can also find it wherever you find podcasting. And for me, that was kind of it. I'm kind of way past Kilpatrick. I'm really focused on where Detroit is heading. I wish him well. I'm glad that on Father's Day, his boys will have their dad for the first time in 7 or 8 years. It's tough to be cynical and think that that's not a good thing. But then I got a message from Zach Pashik, our man at Detroit Bikes, who said, hey, are we going to church on Sunday? And I said, a sinner like me can't afford to take a week off. He said, well, I'm going to historic Little Rock Baptist Church to see Mayor Kilpatrick. And I said, let me know how it goes, because I think that's probably the one church you will not find me. There's zero chance of finding me last Sunday. But Zach went and joins us now for a full report on the mayor's transformation from reacher to preacher.
Yeah, happy to be here. It was a heck of an experience on Sunday. Sorry that you weren't there, but I'll do my best.
Are you converted? Did he convert you?
A little bit. I did leave that church feeling fired up. He's a hell of a speaker.
He sure is.
And has a lot of power,
I did find, because I watched a lot of his, I guess you call it a sermon, and I found it to be a lot about him.
His testimony.
Yeah, and it seemed he really put the me back in Kwame, and it just seemed to be 100% about him.
Where's that drum roll? Do you control all the sound effects?
What? Why?
You put the me back in Kwame. That's
not original.
Where's a rim shot?
That's not that. That's pretty. It's pretty low hanging fruit, right? But did you find it to be a lot about him as opposed to God or Jesus?
I think that's a really fair takeaway from it, for sure. I mean, so he spoke. The sermon was about the book of Acts, and he was focused on the experience of Paul, one of the disciples. So Paul was a disciple who left Jesus and then came back to him, and was going around preaching the word in different towns. He was in one town where he was stoned, and they thought he was going to die, or they thought he was dead. So they walked away, and then he kind of came back and went and preached in some other town, and then returned to that town where he was stoned.
Set him up for a comeback.
Exactly. So he was definitely transposing kind of his experience to the experience of St. Paul now. And so that, I could see how, the takeaway from that would be that's kind of distasteful. At the same time,
I want to tell you, Detroit, that you done set me up for a comeback.
And so, I can see that. That said, I mean, in my experience, I haven't been to church in a long time, but when I was younger, I would go every now and then. And in my experience, you are sort of supposed to try to, look at the Bible or whatever you're studying and talking about and find your personal experience and relationship to it. So
yeah, we emulate the lives of the saints, right? They're there to set an example for us.
I think so. So, I'm not here to pile on the former mayor. I guess he's out of jail. He was there.
I'll pile on him because I also had a problem with talking about how much he is from Detroit and knows the streets of Detroit. And the first chance he had to get out of here, he moved to one of the most a very rich suburb outside of Dallas.
Right.
And he made that whole statement about how his cellmates were asking, "Are you really from Detroit or are you from Bloomfield Hills?" As if his cellmates down in Louisiana know the metropolitan Detroit area that well. And once again, I find him to be very fake and phony. And I feel like that's a lie, but he left. He bolted as soon as he could. His family bolted too.
Well, yeah. And I mean, one thing that I was kind of hoping for too was, so I live, a short walk from Little Rock Baptist Church. It was a beautiful building. Reverend Hawley has been there for 49 years. He's done an amazing job. I felt very welcome there and so happy with the experience. But one thing that I was really hoping to hear over the years, I've heard about how one of the reasons a lot of people were let down by Kilpatrick was that they had a lot of hope at the beginning.
Sure.
Tons of people in this community really believe this is a guy who's going to go out and fight for Detroit and do some really incredible things. And then they were really let down. And I thought this was a pretty good opportunity for him to acknowledge that. He was grateful. He did thank people. He felt like the community supported him while he was in jail, and he felt like that helped him get through it.
I understand why people would feel that way, even though he was a thief before he was mayor. I mean, He did. His wife took money from a grant when he was a state rep, so there were some, but it is his.
But there
charisma.
were people who had a lot of.
Yeah.
Hope. I mean,
there still are, and that's what I wondered.
I was one of them. I thought he was going to be the greatest mayor of my lifetime, and I've lived through the mayoralty of Coleman Young, and I know there are people who are judging Coleman Young based on the tail end of his career and not on the beginning of it. But I mean, one of the reasons why Detroit did not burn last summer during the protests that consumed so many communities is because Coleman Young did the right and difficult thing of integrating the police department when no one else was doing it.
Right.
When Boston was at war with its people, the mayor was transforming our public services into something that looked more like the community. But Kilpatrick tried to hire me as his press secretary, and I damn near took the job because I believed so much in him. And I think,
I'll say one of the biggest misconceptions about UML is that you like the guy. I mean, you've said that before. When you're in a room with him, you like him. He is that charismatic, that ebullient, that you like the guy. He just committed crimes.
He just let us down. And he himself has said that his appetites exceeded his character, which I think is putting it mildly. But I mean, he is a really smart, talented guy who can motivate people and is the kind of person that I think could have led this community and this region into a place that we seem to be heading, but we never quite get there. And I wonder, as someone who didn't watch the sermon, I was in church myself when it happened, have pretty much had enough, Kilpatrick encounters to last me a lifetime. Even though I'm, as we were talking before the show, it's been almost 15 years since he was mayor. It seems like it was just yesterday, but it's so long ago. Zach, if you had to put a headline on what the mayor said, what would it be? How would you sum it up?
Well, the premise of his sermon was not time to die. So I think he's referring to himself a little bit, just with this kind of comeback. But yeah, I mean, from my analysis of it or from what he was trying to get across?
Either one. I mean, I'd be curious to hear what you thought he was trying to convey, as well as, how it landed, how it was received.
But I think the ultimate message in a really maybe fair reading of him and taking him just kind of at his word, is he was really trying to preach, he was trying to fire up the crowd, and he succeeded. I mean, the message was go out, live your life, and be awake and welcome the Holy Spirit into your spirit, and he made that message incredibly well. He's really effective. He's a heck of a preacher.
I watched the live stream, and the one thing you can't get from the live stream is the audience, the congregation response. I mean, you can hear a little bit of it. Were they all in? were they that energetic about it, or
some were?
What was the makeup too of the congregation? Was it all everybody from Little Rock Baptist, or?
Yeah, I think there were a lot of new people. I don't think Little Rock Baptist gets that big a crowd every Sunday. So I think there were friends and family of Kwame's. There were people who were curious. Sure. There were neighbors who just wanted to come to see the spectacle. I'd say that the crowd was really into the service. The musicians were incredible. The singing was incredible. I mean, it's a good show, on its own. It's a great service.
Were they more into the service or Kwame's little presentation?
Honestly, I think more into the service for the most part. And then there were definitely diehard Kwame fans.
Sure, there always will be,
who were shouting out and supporting. But that said, I think the whole room was caught up in his sermon. I mean, when he was speaking, some of the things he said landed really effectively, and I don't think anyone there was like mad at him or whatever. I was disappointed because it was an opportunity to say, hey, a lot of people in this community had a lot of hope in me, and I let you down. He could have said that message, and he didn't. Instead, it was more about, hey, I'm back, and that missed an opportunity.
Maybe I need a little more forgiveness in my heart.
Well, years ago, he said, I have been an imperfect servant, and I think he pretty much figured that squared the account.
I think you're right. I mean, even during the sermon, he acknowledged.
I think he feels like he's apologized, and it's time for the rest of us to get on with it. Which, with the restitution bill out there.
Well, does he get paid?
It's clear cut.
Does he get paid to do something like that? I mean, I have no idea. Do you know, ML? Would a guest preacher make income off of that?
The closest. The two analogies that come to mind is when I was at Channel 4, I went to a church with Frank Turner, the former anchorman from Channel 7, who had his own fall and rise and then kind of sunk again.
Yeah.
And he was an incredibly dynamic preacher and also a former son-in-law of Louis Farrakhan. So Frank Turner's got quite the interesting ecumenical background, but his whole testimony was about how badly he had fallen and how I did cocaine and I was an anchor man. Not only did I did cocaine, I did the best cocaine you could find. It was the finest cocaine in the world. Like he was bragging about it. And but it was genius because he built himself up to, I had it all. And even as a sinner, I was like a first class, all-inclusive sinner. And then it all fell apart. And I believe in a situation like that, there was some compensation for him because he was a draw. And so the collection's going to go up.
So is Kilpatrick.
And you're going to bring souls to the church. You might come back and say, wow, if you bring a Frank Turner in, I'll come back, or what a wonderful facility this is, And then the other analogy I have, and it's really a weak one, is when we were in Ireland about 5 years ago, we went to the cathedral in Killarney, which is just, the biggest church in that diocese. And it was amazingly, for having an Irish preacher, it was the shortest homily I've ever heard in my life. And at the end of it, he said, now make sure there's a good collection so they'll have me back. So I think whether you're getting paid or whether there's somebody else is putting something in the basket, money is a part of it.
Say yeah!
But,
is that actual audio from that sermon?
Maybe from the Frank Turner one, but I don't remember seeing those guys in County Kerry. But Mark, as someone who watched the live stream, I'm curious, and I would ask Zach, but Zach got here after Kilpatrick was no longer mayor. I just missed him by a year or two. Did you see any difference in his style, his delivery, the way he carried himself? I mean, did this seem like a new Kilpatrick, or did it just seem like all those gifts and talents with a different message?
It seemed like the same Kilpatrick to me. I mean, it's a little different because I would think he feeds off that energy from the congregation, which you don't necessarily get at a State of the City speech.
Oh, you do, though, but a State of the City speech, they pack the crowd with supporters. I mean, they're the energy.
But I mean, the energy's a little different. But yeah, I would say it was this. I would say he was the same, and maybe that's why I feel like we're just right back to where he was before he got in trouble.
Do you worry that he's going to get back into politics?
Well, he can't for a while, and everybody always says if he were to run right now, he'd win. I don't think people are that easily bamboozled.
Right.
But once again, it always depends who you're running against. I don't think he'll get back into politics because politics is very similar to preaching, and you can make a lot of money speaking, doing both things. So if he becomes a preacher and that's his life and he makes money off of that, then, he'll just do that.
Interesting.
Was his fiance with him?
Yeah, she was. She seemed great. She didn't speak or anything, so not much to.
Do we know anything else about her? I mean, I know he doesn't want to talk about her, as we learned from Alan last week.
I felt like I caught her give him a couple of side eyes when he got a little bit too self-aggrandizing. Like, it kind of seems like
that's good.
She's checking him a little bit.
Okay.
That's the sense I got.
Were his sons there?
I think his sons were there, but they were not sitting on stage, so I don't know. Okay. There were some younger men who came up who may have been sons.
What about mom or dad? Do you know if Carolyn?
Not sure.
No, okay.
I would bet they must have been, though.
Well, none of them live in Michigan, so it would have been a big trip. But there's still some relatives there. I think he still has an aunt and a lot of cousins here, so it's possible there was more relatives there.
Why do you think he came back to Detroit to do it then? I mean, if his family's not here, if he's not here, why did he need to come to Little Rock Baptist Church to do this on a Sunday?
That's a great question.
Connections.
Yeah, I would not presume to know
where would he get the biggest
Mr.
audience
Kilpatrick's
doing that?
mind works. I think if he were the, so I think of the Frank Turner example again. Frank Turner was a draw, but he was preaching at a church that had a huge congregation anyway. So I would think if he went to some mega church somewhere and was one of the folks on the program, he'd have a bigger crowd than he might have coming home, because I think, Detroit is a mixed bag. And I think one of the reasons why he did leave Detroit after leaving office was, there's a lot of bad memories here. You just kind of want a fresh start, and you probably don't want people saying stuff to your kids, and you don't want to, every room you go into, you wonder, is somebody going to give you a hard time, or is somebody going to, praise you? You just want to go someplace where you can be judged by folks who may not be as familiar with your story and who can take you as they find you and make up their own judgment.
Well, it does fit the narrative too of the whole coming back and returning.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm not surprised he was here. I'm not surprised this is what he's doing either. I'm not ready to buy in.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say I'm necessarily bought in either. I get it. I completely get how you'd be let down and disappointed and very skeptical of this.
I just don't know if he's paid his debt or if he even is that remorseful. I think he's a little bit remorseful, but I think it's because he was locked away.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was going to say.
Like, committed crimes.
Neither of us have spent 7 years in jail, and apparently he was in solitary for like 7 or 8 months. I mean, he has.
Did find that part interesting. I did not know that.
That would be awful. That would be a terrible experience. I'm sure he must have gone through
that's why
something.
I'm not going to bid rig.
Yeah, right.
Well, for some people, it's spending time with the person you care the most about. But no, I mean, faith has always been a part of Kilpatrick's persona. He says he decided to run for mayor when he was only 30 years old because he went in the basement. He couldn't sleep, and he opened up the Bible, and the Bible opened to the passage of King David.
Either, though.
And he's spoken a lot about faith.
He hasn't seemed to act. He doesn't act the way that a faithful man would act.
Well, it's maybe you just need to put the "on" in front of it. But I
think it's all an act.
Yeah.
Well, time will tell. Let's hope that he is on the straight and narrow, because I think Kwame Kilpatrick, unreformed, is not what we need. And if he can be there for his family, if he can get his life back together, then I think it not only speaks to the power of redemption, but maybe he's still got some miracles he can perform for those of us here in Detroit before he's through. We'll see, but we will continue to monitor the situation. Our correspondent Zach Pashik is back from assignment. Zach, thank you for checking in on the mayor. Thanks for leaving me out of it.
Watch this sweet pan job I'm going to do with the camera.
Oh, wow.
I guarantee that. Hey, Joe, go. Okay, right. It's going to fall, isn't it? Wow, look at that.
Smooth.
So professional.
Yeah, it is some smooth stuff.
All three of you.
Those of you on Facebook who are enjoying the show, we're just favored by the countenance of Mr. Max Prokop, who is a attorney at law, not involved in any political litigation, but he's also the anchor of multiple outstanding musical acts, one of which you can see later this month at a campaign fundraiser for me at the Traffic Jam. But he's also the composer of this music commissioned especially for the 100th episode of ML Soul of Detroit. I'm trying to time it to the horns. This is something Max created called. Damn it! Where are the horns there? You
did
lost track.
You did this last time. It's
I
Buzz Me
know.
Cool, but
Buzz Me Mellow. Sorry.
Oh, it's Buzz Me.
I
What is
got
it?
that wrong too.
Buzz Me Mellow. Yeah.
Oh, you got that wrong too. Well, what did you call it? I think you.
He was like, I think it's called Super Groovy Shit, and I'm like, I think I should change the name because I like that better.
I actually wrote that, Max. So you're gonna have to license it back.
Damn it! I'm gonna have to beat you to the filing on that one.
Yeah. So Max, tell us a little bit about Buzz Me Mellow. What were you thinking as the horns come in? Here they are.
Finally.
Oh well, honestly, I was working on this before you reached out to me, and then you said something along the lines of, "Can you make something for the show that sounds like Jamiroquai meets Barney Miller?" Right?
Yep.
And then I was like, "I'm actually working on this thing. It's just kind of a little funky instrumental deal. What do you think about that?" And I don't know, it seemed to land. I mean,
you really nailed it. Yeah, it does sound like Jamiroquai.
That was a happy accident. But yeah, it's just the little keyboard part that sounds like keyboard, that's actually guitar. I was just
really?
Yeah, I was manipulating a little pedal that I had gotten, and I was just like, oh, that sounds like a keyboard. I'm gonna go with that. And then, I mean, nowadays you can do all this stuff in your basement, you know.
Yeah.
So I got like a canned beat from the internet, or maybe it was Apple Loops or something like that. And I'm like, oh, that's pretty dope. Like, it's kind of like that break beat kind of hip hop feel. And then I laid down a bass line, and then it kind of just got away from me.
Wait, you're not going to tell me these horns aren't real?
They are not.
Oh, what?
John Rutherford could have told you that.
Yeah, he's turning in his grave.
So what I'm hearing right now is not keyboard; it's guitar.
Correct.
It's got that
Pretty
kind
cool.
of roll and bounce, you know, that sort of just sort of 50s, 60s funk. Well, Max is involved in 3 different groups. The Smiths United, who obviously are Smiths cover band that I've been fortunate to have play at my house every year except for last year. So we're going to resurrect that this summer. And I would tell you where that is, but I already got people driving around looking for a place to park so they can hear some good music and drink some bad beer. But Max is also in a couple other bands, Shasta Fox, who will be playing at the Traffic Jam on June 30th. That's a fundraiser for my campaign. We'll tell you how you can be a part of that. And also the King's English, which has released some new music. So we have a world premiere, not just a tune, but a video, right?
That's correct.
Yes, right here on ML Soul Detroit. So King's English, World War IV, take it away.
Yeah, what do we need to know about the song? Anything? Is there any grand setup for it?
Not really. I mean, it started out as a germ that my guitar player, his name is Mike Miller, came up with, and we said that kind of sounds like a mix between The Police and Incubus or something like that. And then just out of trial and error, we came up with some lyrics and everything. And what was really fun was we shot this video in downtown Detroit in November last year, and grabbed our buddy. His name's Nick Drinkowski. He's a local guy who works in audio, and he's done stuff for like FX and the Lifetime channel. And we're like, hey man, can you bust out that really nice camera you have and shoot some video for us? And we're down there by the DeQuinder Cut, and we were originally going to shoot it by in the loading dock. I think it's like the Thornapple Valley Slaughterhouse.
Oh yeah, in Eastern Market.
Yeah. And then we got there the day of, and everyone's like, yeah, I'm really afraid we're gonna get lockjaw if we step on a rusty nail here. So let's see if we can maybe.
That's not very rock and roll.
Yeah. Well, we ended up finding a pretty. But
those of you listening or watching should have no concerns about the quality of the bacon. We're not saying anything about it.
Yeah.
Thornapple Valley lawyers stay put. Sorry, go ahead, Max.
Hey boy, you really ruined your flow there.
Oh yeah, no,
that's what he does best.
So yeah, we just kind of went down the street and we're like, oh my god, this is a really cool spot right here. It's like a dead end street, and it's blocked off by guardrails, and it hangs over the edge of the DeQuinder Cut, and there was all this cool graffiti and everything. And I'm like, well, there's no possibility that cars can come down the street. And 5-0 even rolled by, and we were like, oh, we're gonna get busted for this, and they just kept on going. So, and we had like a generator out there and everything, and guitars on our backs.
Wow,
and everything.
professional. How many takes?
Well, it was like an amalgamation. The guy who shot it had like this big harness on, like the Steadicam, and he was just kind of following us around. We just did a couple different versions where it's just me and then the full band and then just Mike and then just Ryan the drummer, and then we just did B-roll type stuff of us walking around in the DeQuinder Cut and just kind of around there. And what you see is what you get. We didn't try to make it anything like a narrative. We just thought it would look cool to be in downtown Detroit, you know?
Well, if you're thinking of a post-apocalyptic scene, November 2020 during a pandemic, you really don't need to build a set for that.
That's right.
That is a very cool looking area, though.
By your side, waiting on a moment, living in a memory. I'm not getting to see the version of a person you've forgotten how to be. See your red flags turn to war. Now I'm gearing up like it's World War IV. The shine's gone out of everything, my dear. Don't ever feel like I wanted you out of the way. I just can't go on with you this year. And though it was real, there's no reason for either to stay. Nothing's how it used to be. I miss when you could be my friend, but the consequence of events has brought us to the end. See the tide recede once more. Now it's looking like we're in World War IV. The shine's gone out of everything, my dear. Don't ever feel like I wanted you out of the way. I just can't go on with you this year. And though it was real, there's no reason for either to stay. No
was very professional looking.
Sir?
Good song.
How do you walk with a camera in your face and not laugh?
There's probably a bit of it in the outtakes. You can definitely see
what I
some
mean?
smirking in certain shots, or it's just probably right at the tail end of it.
I saw Mike pick up some trash in the middle that I thought was a positive message.
We found $100 bill while we were shooting that, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah, and the guy that was doing the camera, we were like, here you go.
That's how you paid him.
Yep.
That's pretty cool.
It's part of it.
And he said, that's a start.
It's just exactly.
It's a good start.
Where can people find and follow the King's English?
We have a Facebook page. We just released this song on all the streaming platforms, so you can stream it on Amazon, Apple. I think it's on Pandora too. But if you want to purchase it, it's on Bandcamp. It's rockedproper.bandcamp.com.
Or just Google it. Bandcamp and the King's English.
Yep.
And so filmed during the pandemic, can't play anywhere live, can't do it. How has that just crushed? And I mean, all your bands.
Yeah. I mean, we're just kind of now getting back into it. We played one show in the Smiths United, the Smiths tribute.
At the Caju, right?
Yeah, last year, and it was outdoor.
Yeah.
And that was the only game in town. We played one show in all of 2020. But obviously that only works when the weather's good. And it was cold up there.
It was cold, but it was packed. I mean, people were so excited to go out and hear good music, and the big outdoor band area, the beer garden, everything. It was great.
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to view it that way, that, you know, absence makes the heart grow fonder, and be like, well, if we're trapped inside for an entire year, let's do what we can. And we did, for the Smiths, we did one of those quarantine videos where it was all done, assembled after the fact, and everyone did it at home. And I just put it all together in post, and then Mike Miller, the guitar player, edited the video together. We did that twice, and it was kind of cool. I mean, I wouldn't want to go through another year like that, but I mean, you do the best with what you're given. And I think when we get back up there and the audience is back up there, it's going to be euphoric, you know, like.
Oh, yeah. But you guys are going to have to rehearse. I think I heard the one song was, frankly, Mr. Shankly, you can wank me. So I think you're going to have to get a few more practices in before you get that full schedule together.
Nah, no comment on that one.
And there'll be kids in the audience. So I want to ask about this. The consequence of events has brought that to an end. That's kind of a nice cadence.
Thank you.
Did I get that mostly right?
Yeah, the vibe that I envisioned for the song was that it's like when you feel a relationship has passed its expiration date, but you don't want it to escalate into ugliness. And the part where I say the shines...
Or escalate into World War
IV. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a little play on words.
Yeah.
But the you know, how it says the shines were no other thing, but don't feel like I want you out of the way. I just can't go on this way. And it's just sort of saying, like, you know, that we had some good times, and the lyric in the first verse says, I'm not getting to see the version of the person you've forgotten how to be, sort of wrapping up that.
So it's her fault.
Well,
it always is.
I'm not trying to cast aspersions. It just seemed like the words kind of spun out pretty sexy, you know? And that was just kind of what I was thinking. It wasn't about anything in specific, but I felt like it would work for a lot of relationships. People could maybe think of that time they had a similar thing where it's like, let's not escalate this into something really ugly. Let's just try to walk away amicably.
I like that.
Max, how hard is it to grow a band right now? I mean, do you just focus on everything online? Is it even possible to get radio play? Do you even care to get radio play?
It's difficult. I mean, it depends on what
that
genre.
Sounds like I mean, there's a hook. That is a radio-friendly song.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, do you know anybody?
I used to.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's tough. I mean, the market for, I would say that squarely is pretty much alternative rock. It's not a big part of the what's really big right now. Like if you were to look at the Billboard Top 100 or whatever,
yeah,
everything's very heavily R&B and rap based.
Yeah,
it's just where the market is. You can still find avenues. You know, like a band like the Rival Sons or something like that. They're making things happen. They're doing stuff. But I mean, I think they have, you know, I don't know. I'll guess like 300,000 YouTube followers. There are people who just review video games that have like 7 million YouTube followers. So it's a tough game right now. I mean, like the world changed when everything became streaming. Some of that's good in the sense like anybody can get their music out there, and you can be like a
Bieber.
Right.
Yeah, that's how
I was
going
going to mention that.
Noticed.
Yeah, like But then you and I, Mark, were talking about this before the show. There's going to be a lot of crap to sift through. There's going to be a lot of people out there who are just posting anything and everything they do and getting above the fray, like the din of all that stuff to say, hey, we have a pretty professional work product here and we're real musicians, check us out. It can be tough.
Are you noticing any young bands coming up? Like I haven't seen a young band.
A rock band,
Greta Van Fleet comes to mind.
That's
But
the one that I was thinking of.
One in Michigan, usually in a city like Detroit, there'd be like 50.
Yeah. I think it's just how much times have changed, like whereas hard rock was more like the protest music in the 90s, now rap has really taken over that. Mm-hmm. There's not that many. And I mean, I think if you were to go look for it, it's out there. There's great music, but it's not like when you had Channel 2, 4, and 7, we had MTV and then what was on the radio. Now there's just so much stuff out there. I mean, I could think of bands that I like, but you've probably never heard of them.
So are you saying young people are rapping instead? Or I'm just saying like that there's not like young bands at all. Like
it does seem like it's easier to make beats and rap than it would be to play multiple instruments.
Yeah, or they're solo performers like a Bruno Mars or somebody, where he has the magic formula and he takes off, but I mean, you guys are just a 3-piece, but all these venues where you used to see live music the Ritz in Royal Oak, my brother's band used to play at this place called the Falcon Rock Fortress that was a bowling alley by day, but then it had music venues on the weekends, it had ballad. They've been torn down. They've been replaced by strip malls, Kroger gas outlets and what have you. And but then you can always check out some of their recorded stuff. Where can people find your other CDs and the catalog?
It's on that Bandcamp. It's all there. You can get everything we've ever made on that Bandcamp website. I think it's rockproper.bandcamp.com.
Okay. And now your day job as a lawyer, do they know that you're a rock star? Will you send that video to all of them to make them watch it?
They know. Yeah, they've come to some of the shows before. Good. Yeah, I thought
you guys were at the New Dodge Lounge, right? And there was another lawyer band playing, and they played a little too long for me. I wanted Shasta Fox to come on, but they kept playing. But it was good. It was good. It was good music. But
you're too kind. Yeah, I remember when I first became a lawyer. I remember thinking, well, maybe I should not talk so much about music. Like, I don't know. A part of me thought that they would think I wasn't serious about it or whatever. Yeah. And I'm very serious about my career as well. But then I got into this firm where they had a whole bunch of musicians. And I was thinking, oh man, like, because I'm not really into golf or something like that, what am I going to do? And then I was like, no, I'm a musician. Yeah. And I made several really good friends who are musicians and lawyers that I talk to pretty much daily.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Because you don't know how creative of an outlet where you work always is, but for other people that are musicians, and there's a lot of creativity there.
Yeah, there are more lawyer musicians than you would think in this area.
And since there are so many lawyer musicians, we do have the rights to put this video on our website, right? I don't want to.
Yeah, no, it's our site. Yep,
it's always about you.
Whew, okay, good. No, we want to distribute it, and if you want to,
let's make it more about you. Where can you see it?
Wow, what a natural segue to. As a hero, I wasn't going to mention that, but it did speak for itself. But if you want to see one of Max's other projects, Shasta Fox, which has a lot more of I'd say more of a funk and very, very upbeat, kind of exuberant vibe. You can catch them at the Traffic Jam, which is on Canfield. I would say right next to Shinola, but the people at the Traffic Jam say, no, Shinola's right next to us because we've been there since 1965. We're going to be having a campaign fundraiser. We will have live music from Shasta Fox, led by Mr. Prokop, on guitar this time, right?
Right, yeah.
So
I play guitar in that band.
Okay.
Yep.
And there'll probably be a little yakety yak from the candidate, some Q&A, but we'll have live music, free refreshments and non-alcoholic drinks. There will be a cash bar, and the doors will open at 5 o'clock. Doors will open at 5 o'clock. We'll be hanging out, and there's a minimum donation of $50 to go. You can find the flyer. You can find out how to come out and join us. on our website, which is mlsoulofdetroit.com. And you can also catch some of this stuff on our social media channels, which is ML4 Detroit on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Please follow us. You get the latest on the campaign. You'll find out about what's kind of exciting. This will be our first public fundraiser where we're inviting people to come out, come one, come all, hear a few things. Some things I say that may not be as melodic. Some things Max will say that'll be pretty damn cool. And then we'll answer some questions and we'll have a little bit of fellowship. So come on out on Wednesday night, June 30th, and you can give us immediate feedback on the most recent episode of the podcast that week as well. So Max Prokop, you will catch him in on the 30th with Shasta Fox. You can find the latest from the King's English on our website and at Bandcamp. Check them out. They also have pretty cool. I would say it's the second coolest logo promoted on this show.
It's a really cool logo.
So,
it's like a crown with 3 lines. Who made that?
That is our guitar player, Mike Miller. Yeah, he's a graphic designer, video editor.
And I love, for those listening that can't see it, the guy who worked in television cannot find the camera to hold it up.
Yeah, I was never really good at television, but I was going to change T-shirts, but I didn't want to blow people away with that Paul Ryan-esque six-pack. So,
oh well, thank you for sparing us.
Yeah, maybe we'll do that on the subscriber-only episode of ML Soul of Detroit. So, Max, thanks for coming in. I look forward to seeing you on the 30th, and I'll see you sometime soon thereafter.
And June 24th, the Smiths United, that's the Smiths tribute band, we're playing Cadju Cafe. It's a Saturday night. Same thing, outdoors.
Oh, wow.
Right by your house.
Yeah, June 24th at the Cadju Cafe. Catch the Smiths United. There's a huge outdoor performance area and a beer garden. You can catch them live in the beer garden, or behind the beer garden there's Muscle Beach, which is where you can get all the good food. You also have exclusive access to the
26th. The 26th.
The 26th.
Yeah, the last Saturday in June.
The last Saturday in June. Let me double check that. Not because I have no faith in you, but the 26th. Yes, the 26th of June at the Cadju. You guys will start sometime around 8 o'clock or so, I take it?
I think there's an opener. I think it's a Sex Pistols tribute is opening for us.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I've heard the Johnny Rotten guy is pretty good.
Yeah, but because it's a family-friendly show, he's going to be the Johnny not particularly friendly.
Yeah. I hope he doesn't become John Lydon halfway through.
Yeah, no. A crap and a cling wrap is not just a lyric. It's a proper description of Johnny's personality. But great, Max, great to have you in.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And Mark, I think you're gonna
tell
people where to get their rug shampooed.
Sure, since everything's getting back to normal, it's time you get back to normal as well. And one of the ways to do that is letting Lady Jane's cut your hair. You're gonna look and feel like a king. Get to Lady Jane's. They got a second store in Brighton now, corner of East Grand River Avenue, Whitmore Lake Road, right in front of Kroger there. Let one of their talented stylists give you an award-winning haircut, an invigorating shampoo, hot lather neck shave, hot towel treatment, just for a really, really great price. You can find out all the locations, ladyjanes.com. Keep your hair looking its best. And this new one, once again, is out in Brighton. It's Lady Jane's, and it is wicked awesome.
Oh, man, the geeks have inherited the earth.
Did I do that?
What a dork.
Does him wanting to play with us again mean that he's turning into a geek, or we're turning into cool guys?
Well, Father's Day is coming up, and for those of us with children, we're looking forward to, who knows, man. It could be a tie. It could be, my kids are now old enough that they can go get a bottle of whiskey, and I'm not suggesting that that's what they should do.
Or you just leave your dad alone, right? Isn't that what a lot of dads want?
Or
peace and quiet?
Or they could go get a bottle of whiskey. But yeah, they could.
I think they got your hint.
Yeah, or they could, get the bottle of whiskey. But anyway, if you, like me, grew up wondering what in the world you had done to become a friend of the court, you'll appreciate this week's geek. We're not going to use his name because, like most deadbeats, he'd probably just really dig it that people heard his name. But our winner is really a loser. He's a Virginia man who dumped 80,000 pennies onto the lawn of his ex-wife's home. Now, this also happened to be the lawn of his children, and they were, as you might expect, devastated. When he was asked what he was up to, this doucher reportedly shouted, It's your final child support payment because
Asshole.
one of the kids was turning 18. So the daughters were, of course, devastated. I'm sure this guy has never been someone to be particularly excited about, and then to be shamed by someone who was fulfilling an obligation that clearly he felt was an obligation and not his duty as a man who brought life onto this planet. But this story actually has kind of a happy ending. It has a nice turn because what they did was they took all of these damn pennies and donated them to a local domestic violence shelter. And so when this class act, born of an ass act, made the news, another $5,000 and counting in donations rolled into the shelter. So inspired by this family who rose above the so-called man of the house, we are going to donate every donation that we get to the podcast this month to Crossroads, which has 2 locations in Detroit. It's a shelter and a social service agency that my family supported for, probably 20 years now. Its mission statement says it is dedicated to care for any person in need by providing counseling, advocacy, and material assistance when possible and appropriate, and responding to other human needs in the community as we are enabled to do. So if you make a donation to this show, we will turn it into a contribution to Crossroads.
And you can do that at mlsolodetroit.com, little donate button, PayPal, credit card, all that stuff.
Yes, please do that. We and I will personally match every donation that you make to this podcast, and we will bundle it all up and we'll send it to Crossroads. If folks are generous, we will announce how much that is. If you're a bunch of cheap bastards, we'll just move on because we're not interested in shaming anybody. But we hope that we can use this this Father's Day, this father who should be celebrated on April Fool's Day, will use his act of avarice to do some good deeds here in our fair city. So unnamed bag of shit in Virginia, you, sir, are our Geek of the Week.
There's an all-night party in room 7609. And you can dance together all night if you've got the time.
And when you're done donating, and if you have any money left over and you want to make that money grow, call our buddy Luke Nowacki at Pinnacle Wealth, 248-663-4748 to get rational financial advice. He'll help your money grow, tell you where to put it, stocks, bonds, if you have a 401k, 529, all those fun things. Just call Luke. Get advice, get a strategy. Luke Nowacki at Pinnacle Wealth, 248-663-4748.
Because Luke will make it all about you.
And because we went into room 7609, I'm just going to read it. Oh, although it ran out. I'm just going to read it anyway. Ready? Securities and investment advisory services offered through Royal Alliance Associates Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC. Royal Alliance Associates Incorporated is separately owned, and other entities and or marketing names, products, and services rendered here are independent of Royal Alliance Associates, Inc.
Bang. Okay, wonderful. So with a certain somebody back in town, listener Todd, who may or may not have been named after the great old dance club at Gratiot and 7 Mile, suggested Same Old Madness from Ministry. But that felt a little cynical to me. And because Ministry has just such a diverse catalog and such a crazy career path, we decided to delve a little deeper into the Al Jorgensen litany. And we're going to start you off with a tune from Ministry that I think you'll probably recognize. It's called Stigmata.
Doesn't sound like new wave.
If Sean was here, he'd be saying the same thing.
He would anyway.
Stronger than reason, stronger than lies. The only truth I know is the look in your
So if you were watching MTV when it first came out, you may have caught this on 120 Minutes. You may have caught it on a dark wave program. Yes, Ministry does have a little bit of territory on the edge of new wave music. And Al Jorgensen tried very early in his career to try and have that sort of English connection by coming across with an English accent. But he started out as more of a true new wave artist, as you'll hear from this early track from Ministry called Cold Life.
Yeah, they're down.
I thought you might like this one.
That's right up my alley.
Swimming pools and low IQs, there's nothing to see, nothing to do. Buy your stocks and sell you bill collectors, fill my mail. My wife and kids I want for sale. I hope to God I know the tale and no one can come up with fame. Life. Life. Slightest thing makes me start. I'm like the people I will find my every action feed bars. Robot trainers in the pain as mutant things go on to play. It's such a pretty day with orange nights and days of I'm getting closer to my death. I keep expecting my last breath as all my friends just laugh and jest. The earth is such a filthy place and humans such an awful race. I'd rather live in outer space where death goes at a slower pace. Life. Life.
sort of hard to believe those are the same band. Very danceable, a little slap bass there.
Oh yeah, all day.
The fake English accent. Al Jorgensen, by the way, is from Chicago. He kind of got his start with Wax Tracks and early collaborator, was one of the guys from My Life with the Thrill Kill Cult, which I can't wait to play on this show. Although when Sean says that ain't fixing to be new wave, it's going to be very hard for me to defend that. But My Life with the Thrill Kill Cult's one of my favorite bands. Anyways, Jorgensen has evolved from this very poppy, hoppy tune to Every Day is Halloween, which is sort of a goth anthem, to that just searing metal stigmata where, you just want to jump in the mosh pit and try and inflict as much damage on every other dancer as you. Maybe that's just me, but
yeah, it reminds me a little bit of Faith No More.
Yeah,
Mr. Bungle, something, like Mike Patton.
Yeah,
like the weird, freaky carnival come to life funk metal kind of thing
with the distortion turned way up.
Yeah.
But I saw Al Jorgensen at Harpo's, another great venue that rarely has acts coming through there. And this would have been maybe 10 or 15 years ago. He was still wearing the black leather suit, but it looked like maternity wear on him. He was not the young, beautiful Al Jorgensen that did what was this great track we just played? Where's my notes?
The one we just played, Stigmata or
Cold Life?
Cold Life, yeah.
Cold Life, yeah. But yeah, so he's gone on all the compass points. We always ask folks what do they think about this particular tune. Zach, had you been exposed to this particular incarnation of Ministry?
No, it was surprising. I would not have thought that was a Ministry song. If I heard that in a bar or something, it was good. It was great.
Oh yeah, no. If you spent any time in the city club or in the shelter before it kind of got gussied up, and you asked the DJ, could you play this tune by Ministry? And he put this on, all of a sudden the place would go silent. People say, okay, that guy over there is responsible for this. Get him the hell out of there. But thanks to Todd for giving us a chance to do something we've wanted to do for a long time, which is take a little excursion through the career of Al Jorgensen in Ministry. He kind of found that metal groove at a time when that was becoming very popular. He was sort of 9 Inch Nails before 9 Inch Nails was cool, and that is really where the band found its biggest success. But just really, really cool stuff. If you have a suggestion for us in Room 7609, remember we're looking for a new wave band that has a great tune that wasn't among their hits that you think people should know about, or a band that never quite broke through but still deserves a little recognition. Please send us your suggestions at mlsoulofdetroit@gmail.com. That's mlsoulofdetroit@gmail.com. Or you could even give us a call at 313-288-9070. That's Butterfield 89070. And let us know what you'd like to hear in Room 7609. Let us know what you think of the show. We always appreciate your feedback. You can rate the show. You can subscribe to the show, which is a great way to get the new episodes as soon as they're available. We're still having trouble with Facebook. They will not let us post our website, but if you want to see everything we've done, you can go to mlsoulofdetroit.com, where you can also find out how to donate. You'll find out where to get all our cool merchandise. And
I don't think we said where Sean is today either, so...
Sean,
anybody miss Sean?
Sean is an underground bunker.
I miss Sean.
Carefully taking notes to prepare to stage a coup next week, but I know about the coup, so we may catch that.
He's a little under the weather.
Yeah, Sean is not feeling well. If you remember anything about last week's show, Sean somehow got through the pandemic and then decided to get sick. He always has to be that guy.
That's our Sean.
Yeah, who wants to be different, wants to make trouble. That's Sean Windsor. So if you can say a prayer even to the Dark Lord for Sean, we'd appreciate it. And he's been doing some great stuff. Great column on what's going on in Ann Arbor with the Schembechler scandal, and taking a very...
Why do you call it the Schembechler scandal? Shouldn't it be the Dr. Anderson scandal?
Well, if Schembechler covered it up, people know him more than they know Dr. Anderson. But I thought...
Was it the Joe Paterno scandal, or was it the Jerry Sandusky scandal?
Well, I guarantee you, if you asked people in a room and said, who do you know from Penn State who got taken down by that scandal, you say Joe Pa.
No, I understand that.
But
I'm just being a dick.
Thank you for that. The thing about Sean's most recent piece on this that I thought was really good was he just basically tackled that question of the people who say, why now? And just said, listen, when people have suffered trauma, we can't be asking them why they didn't tell us about it sooner. If we believe them, we just have to appreciate what they've gone through and not try and play this game of, well, if you're so upset, why didn't you tell us 30 years ago? I mean,
It's not how it works.
We should all hope that we never have to explain why it's taken us so long to come to grips with something that traumatic. So you can find Sean's work at freep.com. You can also buy it on newsstands. Please subscribe to the Freep and the News so they can continue to do some of the outstanding work. One of the reporters at the Detroit News, Kim Kozlowski, just won a journalism award for her work on the Dr. Anderson scandal. Well-deserved. And while I hear a lot of people talk about the media is not doing its job and the media this and the media that, one of the reasons why we know about these stories is because the media is doing its job. And David Jesse at the Detroit Free Press actually went into the archives at the University of Michigan to pull all of the records he could on correspondence involving Don Canham, Bo Schembechler, Dr. Anderson, So, I mean, that's some pretty enterprising reporting, and there's nobody else who's going to do that except for your local media. So please give them their support because they are trying to get us the truth, or at least as close as we can get. And, of course, support our local bands. Max will be at the Caju Cafe on June 26th with Smiths United. He'll be at the Traffic Jam on June 30th with Shasta Fox. And if you get a chance to check out the King's English, absolutely do that. Zach will be doing a tour of Baptist churches, taking notes on sermons, homilies, and musical reviews that he will be providing us on a regular basis. So, Zach, we appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm glad you went too. It was good to get some feedback from someone that was there.
Well, and someone who's totally objective. Yeah. I mean, someone who wasn't here during the Kilpatrick thing. Hasn't really, has been doing his own thing during the aftermath and can kind of look at it and just say, you know what? Here's the way it looks to me. So
yeah, no, I was pleased to do it. Glad to be able to share it.
And as Zach goes from House of Worship to House of Worship, he will be riding a Detroit-built Detroit bike. And you can find out more about Detroit bikes it's DetroitBikes.com, right, Zach?
Yeah, that's right.
And there's also accessories there, bike racks, water bottle holders, laser mounted. No, that's coming, right?
We're working on it. I'm working on an ashtray for a bike right now. I think that'd be a hilarious accessory. Whoa. Demystify the whole cycling thing. Just get an ashtray on there.
I like that. This wouldn't be like one of those cut glass ones, would it?
That would be really nice.
Yeah. Sort of like you get at the old casinos or something.
I'll just see one someone cruise along.
Cut out the turnaround time on canceling out that exercise. Let's just do it all at once.
Well, and then that means you have to have a beer holder too, right?
For sure, yeah.
Or something for a highball glass.
Those exist. So there are beer holders for bikes now.
Okay. Well, you heard it here first. The first ashtray for a bike at Detroit Bikes. That's a Soul of Detroit exclusive news item.
And as we talked last time, the electric bikes are cheating.
This is true.
That's my opinion. But so many people are riding those, so you just let it do the work and drink and smoke.
Easier to smoke if you're not pedaling, right?
Exactly.
I'm thinking you may have a good market with the electric bikes and the ashtray.
Yeah,
that's probably where you want to start that one and see if it catches on.
Yeah, so I think my brother might buy one of those.
A cheater bike.
Or the ashtray bike.
Yeah, the ashtray e-bike.
Oh, boy.
Yeah,
okay.
Can you put a vaping thing in the handle?
Oh, yeah. Good call.
Make it one-stop shopping.
Probably charge it up, too. While the wheels are spinning, yeah.
The battery on this thing is going to be massive. If you are hearing this show before June 16th, I'm going to be at AB Ford Park in Detroit. That's at the foot of Lakewood Boulevard on the water. Talk about campaign stuff, taking your questions. Please come out and meet me. Come out and ask your questions. We'll hang out. We'll talk. And we have a lot of events like this coming up. If you want to know what's going on with the campaign, go to ml4detroit.com or follow me on social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, like, follow, subscribe to ML4Detroit.com, and hopefully we'll see you at the traffic jam. Max will be there. I think Zach might be there. Mark will probably be editing the Drew and Mike show. That's just
or starting it, yeah.
Or just starting it, right? And that's Wednesday, June 30th. And Sean, we told you what Sean's up to. He will be, I think he may be running the show next week, so you're going to want to tune in for that. In the meantime, if you're up for a little more quality listening, there's the Charlie LaDuff No BS News Hour. And of course, the Red Shovel Network's flagship show, the Drew and Mike Podcast. So let's support each other, folks. Thanks for listening. And we will be back soon. In the meantime, we turn to our friend Cyrus to take us out.
Can you dig that? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
They want me to run. But I'm gonna finish this.
You're a little rusty, Mr. Elric.
I have nothing to lose. If you're smart, that scares you. He doesn't care about the law. He doesn't care about proof. He only cares about what's right.
Out of the car!